Air Headquarters in the office of the 21st Chief of Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal Sohail Aman. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us. In fact, Air Chief Marshal, you have stepped into the shoes of some very illustrious predecessors. How does it feel to be following in their footsteps?
It's a matter of absolute pride and privilege. But let me tell you that was a day before that I had to take over that my announcement of my appointment came in. The few words that buzzed that night in my mind, it was responsibility, it was nationhood, it was Pakistan. It was building the Air Force once again on new and the modern lines and preparing my force to face the new challenges. It's all about Pakistan. That stayed in my mind that night.
You have come in a very difficult time when Pakistan itself and Pakistan Air Force in particular are facing a war on terror, as well as there is acute shortage of weaponry, and some of our weapon systems are getting obsolete. Under these circumstances, what force goals have you set for the Pakistan Air Force?
The base of setting the force goal was about indigenization. The air power is critical, it's important, and it helps the two services to come about whether in the conventional war or in the war against the non-state actors. It's pivotal all over the world, and we understand that responsibility very well. At the same time, air power and the assets are extremely expensive, and they're dependent on political reasons and so much and so forth. So my basic theme has been on indigenization, and God has been very kind to us. We made huge strides in different areas. We met successes. There are few challenges out there. We put Vision 2030 in place, talked about our entire infrastructure, starting from the high-tech aircraft to the next generation aircraft to the radars to communication systems and everything. So this all has been put into writing. Yes, there are budgetary challenges, there are research challenges, but then we've devised strategies to make sure that these challenges are addressed. I think the first and the foremost was developing a human resource on those modern lines which can take up these challenges. So I think we've gone in a huge way developing the human resource, and we'll also talk about the infrastructure which was required to make sure that not now but 10 to 15 years down the line we take up all these things which a lot of modern air forces and modern industry does. We should be able to do it in Pakistan, and I'm very convinced we will inshallah do it.
There is a constraint that our arch rival India is already going for 126 Rafales. It is also eyeing the next generation, the 5th generation aircraft. What is Pakistan Air Force doing about the 5th generation aircraft?
The grace of God, production of the JF-17 is a matter of pride, not only for the Air Force but for the entire nation. We built up that base, both on the avionics and the aerospace. What we must understand is that in today's world, making aircraft is easier, but putting the state-of-the-art electronic systems is more important. We have done very well on that account. A lot of indigenous assets have come into place. Our engineers and the technicians are good speed. But that's, I think, just the base of where we need to go for the 5th generation aircraft. You'll be glad to hear I talked about the human resource development. We've set now on a path of making an aviation city. It is important to understand this. And the
aviation
city.
Wow.
And the aviation city is adjacent to the Pakistan Aeronautical Complex. And the basic thought is that you have your industry come in place, which is, I said, it has just begun to produce aeroplanes, and we are happy with this. But then for the next generation aircraft, I do not wish that we should be dependent on few people to again ask for a next generation aircraft. Yes, it's a long, tall order. But then the aviation city will have its own vocational training center, schools, colleges, its own administrative thing. But the hallmark of the aviation city is to have a university with the master's and the PhD programs on those specific areas which lead to making the next generation aircraft. And that is where our future is. It will take about 3 to 4 years to get that intellectual growth come in. I mean, you can't do it otherwise. We have defined the disciplines, and I'm very glad that it's happening. And there are about 2 or 3 countries, the brotherly countries, that we are collaborating, and inshallah we should have the next generation aircraft pretty independently ourselves. Yes, I am mindful of India's development of the aeroplanes, but the JF-17 has come up well. We have other assets which are doing fine, and I'm sure till the time we do not invest into indigenous development of the aeroplanes, we will always remain dependent, and I don't want that Pakistan should be dependent on different countries for taking the next generation aircraft.
Okay, but there has been another news in the recent past about the 8 F-16s which the United States was supposed to subsidize provision, and you needed them very badly for our war on terror. What is your option in case it doesn't happen, and what are you thinking about it?
The relationship with the United States Air Force and United States have been very special, and we've had there's a lot of wherewithal which was there from the United States to fight the war on terror that we did. Yes, our boys did very well, but that wherewithal came from them, and I'm sure those relations will remain at a very appropriate and a very high level. On the 8 F-16s, again, I'm sure the decision has not yet come in. I'm very hopeful that a prudent decision will come in from their side. These aircraft are very much needed for the war against the non-state actors, and I'm sure, but even if it does not happen, the alternate options will take time. We'll have to engage. I'm very sure the United States will concede to our requirements.
In the near past, Chief Marshal, you were kind enough to afford me a visit to the Combat Commanders School, and it came as a pleasant surprise because I was not aware of the development of the Air Power Center for Excellence, ACE per se, and I think it's remarkable that you are thinking of not only just honing the skills. It's no longer, you see, fighter flying is kick the tire and light the fire. A lot of mental acumen is required. So I would like you to tell our viewers something about your ACE program.
Okay, the ACE program came into our minds when I spent nights together as a DCS operations into the operations room, looking at nicks and burs of the operations Arbeas. There is no country in the world which teaches how to fight non-state actors. It is complicated. You need to have right intelligence. You need to have the right kind of weapons. You need to do a war on them which is pretty precise and smart. I mean, we must know the non-state actors are fully trained, and there are you need skills to fight them. My thought was that this menace which has grown all over the world, there should be an institution, there should be an air force. We should go ahead and teach the sister air forces, the brotherly countries. Then how is it done? We've got huge experience in the last about 2 years' time of fighting these non-state actors. That's where the ACE came in. Air Power Center of Excellence is one that which will do the training of our own crew, but then it will periodically invite the other air forces, and we tell them how to do surveillance, reconnaissance, how to do air operations against the non-state actors and other conventional wars also. I look at ACE as a pivotal point, not only for the air forces being together, but I think Pakistan will make a huge connection with other brotherly countries while you really address their core issues.
I was also pleasantly surprised to see, I mean, Combat Commander School used to be a forte of the fighter pilots. I noticed a number of C-130 pilots undergoing training, and that is a remarkable change. How did that come about?
I think C-130 people, the crew, they've done a commendable job in operations, and I say that very clearly. If this element was not there, we would have had much difficult times. They stayed up days and nights doing surveillance, picking up targets, making sure that we engage the right targets. And I say with a lot of pride and humility, thanking Almighty that not even a single strike engaged the wrong targets. So that's something huge. I think the C-130 crew has done a commendable job. Now, it is in the same context that we wanted to get them into the ACE and teach people how the ISR is done. But then it is not only the C-130, it is the AVAX, the UAVs, the electronic warfare, and so much has come into the Combat Commander School, which will again go and integrate into the Air Power Center of Excellence. So I don't see Combat Commander School as and the ACE as few fighter pilots and the radar control, but it's a wholesome Air Force response. And I think these all elements that I talked about and many more are fully integrated there now.
While we are talking about it, of course, to keep the cutting edge of the Pakistan Air Force sharp, you need to indulge in exercises local, exercises international. What are your plans for the PAF exercises in the future?
We have huge bondage with a few of the air forces of the world. I think their air chiefs have been visiting us, I've been going there, and there's such huge relationships that we are very proud of. Our boys are leaving for foreign exercises in the next 1 month to 2 of our brotherly countries. So we fully integrate ourselves into those exercises. It promotes friendship, it brings the nations together, that's one. And of course you learn the tactics, you teach whatever you have learned, so that's good. But at the same time, the internal exercises are something which you do more closely, on which you are more focused on the threat. And there are a lot of things that you experiment to see how does that happen. You will be very glad to hear that every alternate month the Air Force holds a big exercise. We have an advantage. We operate from our main operating bases and we can muster up the force and generate scenarios. So every alternate month we go through a massive exercise in which all these elements that we talked about, they integrate. They play the games, and I attend most of their briefs and debriefs, and most of the time I go and fly with them.
I think you got into it when you were the Deputy Chief of Air Staff Operations, and now that the war is on, you are even leading from the front. I have seen you actually flying some of these very dangerous and dicey missions. Would you care to tell our viewers something about it?
All right, leading these missions is honestly nothing special at all. The Air Force commanders have always led from the front. I'm just trying to maintain that tradition, and I'm very proud and I'm very privileged to do this.
What does it do to the morale of the people when they see their own air chief flying?
Honestly, the Air Force was a new Air Force that day when I flew these missions. Everybody was charged and so happy about it. This needs precision, it needs prowess, and I think an Air Chief must do this with his companions and colleagues. But I think the way it charged the nation, I'm so pleased that it happened. We are soldiers and we must lead from the front, and we must take care of all these threats with our boys out there. I'm fully convinced. On the war on terror, let me first of all say that it was a huge challenge. There are air forces in the world combined who have not been able to do this. Allah has been very kind on us. He's been so, he provided us with that sagacity, with that skill. So the first thanks to Almighty Allah. But then the way Army and Air Force got together, as a lot of time the naval colleagues came in, the way we worked this together, the way the two forces or the three forces have come about, it's unprecedented. Starting from the picking up of the targets, analyzing them, and it's a tough thing, because you do not want to hurt even a single innocent soul. Now it requires work. Hats off to those young soldiers on ground, and I really salute them, because at the end of the day they face that danger, they sacrifice their lives on the IDs and whatever. Yes, the Air Force was in front, Air Force was making sure to pave way for our soldiers, and we made sure that our soldiers don't get hurt when they embark upon an area. So this was a synergy which we played, and God was very kind that it really happened. And I say with a lot of confidence, a lot of Air Forces in the world together have not been able to do this job. A lot of armies have not been able to do this job. So the nation needs to be so proud. And our morale came in because of one singular factor, that the whole nation stood behind us, and whatever we did, we had that concurrence, not only from the government of Pakistan but the entire public of Pakistan. It has been a challenging point for the entire nation. We have done it, and God has been so kind on us.
Alhamdulillah. Could you tell us briefly about the counter-terrorism doctrine and the ISR operations you mentioned? Perhaps our people need to know a little more about it.
Yes. Like I said, that the experience that we have had, we would like to share it with the different air forces, but then we revised and we refined our air power doctrine, because this is an aspect which was not very new, but then it came in a different shape. So we have done some work, we have institutionalized the training, we have looked at the wherewithal and the weaponry which is required to do this in future if there is a requirement, because the Air Force must be prepared to take on all the tasks. ISR, like I said, has been pivotal. It needs a lot of integration with a lot of other agencies, and then ultimately a recognized picture of clearly saying what is the threat, where does it lie, what kind of weapon does it need, what are the right timings to attack. So much to it. It's interesting.
Hopefully, Zarb-e-Azb is coming to its logical conclusion, and we certainly pray and hope that the war against terror will be won. What are the plans of the Pakistan Air Force for the rehabilitation and reconstruction of the areas where these battles took place?
Right. Again, the three services and the government of Pakistan is fully aware of this challenge. A lot of people have settled back into these areas, the others are coming in. This is at a huge cost, and a lot of people do not recognize this, especially outside the country. It is our duty to get them back into their homes, their schools, their hospitals. PF, along with the other services and the government, is very much involved into it. We have made special efforts to start with vocational training centers and the schools in those areas. You remember the Bada Bear attack? We've turned that place into a huge vocational training center.
Right.
Clearly saying that this is the place where we had a terrorist attack, but we would like to teach your children and get them into the Air Force and the rest of the two services so that they become better citizens. So we are participating into these activities.
Tell us about relief operations. This is something the Air Force has been involved in since the very beginning. But what are some of the major operations in the near past that Pakistan Air Force has indulged in?
I think in the nation building, we contribute whatever in our humble capacity that we can, whether it is the floods or the earthquakes. The first, we may not exactly know, first is the Air Force to go in and take the aerial pictures and tell the NDMA which are the affected areas and where the support needs to go, and we continue to do this. And then of course our helicopters, our C-130s are always put 100%, we relegate all our priorities to do this job. Nepal, we went in a huge way. Sri Lanka, very recently. We just don't hold back. I mean, human life is something precious. It doesn't matter where it belongs to. So we understand this responsibility and we do it to the fullest of our abilities.
There is a very important part of our population, the females, the women. And women have been part of nation building in Pakistan, and women are a part of Pakistan Air Force. So how do you envisage their role, and what kind of future do you see for women in PF?
I think PF has always recognized this fact. We are one of the first air forces who got the women into fighter or the combat flying, right. And we're very happy that this went through. It had challenges, the social challenges and others, but then they're very focused. Look at the girls in logistics. Their warehouses are arranged in a fashion, because they're more used to arranging those in their houses. I mean, those are arranged very nicely. The girls in the accounts and engineering. I mean, I've seen few of absolutely brilliant girls in our engineering discipline. I was out to a base on an inspection, and this girl very proudly displayed hundreds of thousands of dollars that she has saved by inventing few of the things, putting them into our electronics, and other saving us from foreign imports. So I think these are very important component. The kind of respect that they get in the Air Force is again something. They're respected and they're honored for the job they're doing.
And recently one of them sacrificed her life in an air crash, which was very sad, but well, it's part of life.
Mariam, I have been to Mariam's parents. She has set an example. She fought very bravely the entire emergency situation. And we're very proud to have such brave girls in the PF.
Indeed. There's another aspect I noticed, Sohail Aman, and this is a first, that you have been trying to raise the morale of the religious minorities in the Pakistan Air Force, including the ones who do the lowly job of even cleaning in other places. I would like to hear from you about it.
They're very important components of this nation, as indeed the PF. They're human. And there's no reason for anyone to look at them with any other eye but respect. We've changed the names of all the colonies. There are no class 4 colonies in the Air Force. You can't name a colony with this name. So they're all like Addison Colony, Jinnah Colony, and Cecil Colony. So they're all like that. I meet them on every important event, speak to them, spend time with their children. You'll be surprised to know that my base inspection starts most of the times going out to the church. Yes, we spend money on the mosques and everything, and our religion teaches us respect for the other religions. So their place of worship, how do they live, is something very important. We made some efforts there, and I'm very sure that this will be carried on as a value, not by the Air Force, but for the others who really look at this.
Please tell me a little about the support to the families of the Shuhada, the retired personnel, and all those people who are needy.
Again, this is a very important segment of our lives. Our boys who embrace Shahadat, they're generally very young, and when they die, they leave widows with very young ages, 1 or 2 kids. Air Force has been cognizant of the fact they've been looking after, and I think we as an air staff have just taken a step ahead. We have very clearly said that these families are our responsibilities. We have allocated special funding for them. The children education is taken care of for their life, and even their accommodation within the PF premises till the time either they get married or their children start to support their mothers. They will always live with us.
So earlier there used to be a period of 3 years for the
Right.
wives of the Shaheed,
Yeah.
and it's no longer there. Now they can stay.
They can stay for the lifetime. For this, we have to make new infrastructure, spend some money, but that's something that we must do. The good thing is that me and my air staff, along with our families, we have met each and every Shohada family. We've invited them in the regions, we've sat with them, we talked to them. We can't honestly bring their husbands back, but we can ease their lives. We can make sure that their children grow up very properly in an honorable manner. Similarly, the retired personnel, the 2-3 strands to it. These are huge human resource which retires pretty early in their lives. So we've had the senior Air Force retired officers come in as advisors to a few of our very important, the space program, the JF-70 programs. And they're so delighted to do it. We are going to start with a huge think tank, and a lot of senior Air Force officers are joining into that think tank. Other than this, we keep meeting them very often. Look at their difficulties. Mostly it is health. Sometimes it is finances. So I'm trying to make a bridge. We set up just a one window operation, because the people when they go in the civil, they possibly get difficulty contacting different departments. So we have introduced a concept of Muawin cell. Muawin cell, I personally get the reports on the Muawin cell and their progress. The man comes and briefs me how many people called up, approached, where are their problems, have this been solved. I think this is something which is very close to my heart.
Well, I've noticed that you also attend the Pakistan Air Force Retired Officers Association meetings quite regularly, which is very heartening for all the retired personnel and for solving the problems. But tell me, Chief Marshal, you had the opportunity to attend the Kennedy Howard Institution for Security. And then when you came back, you thought that this is not only a remarkable course for the Air Force officers, but you started sending teachers from our schools, which I think is fantastic. Would you care to share with our viewers what is the thought behind this benevolent gesture?
A lot of countries in the West and also in the East have taken leap in certain areas of education, and it is for us to identify those areas and make benefit from there. Like I said, the human resource is something very pivotal for the growth of an organization. The PF is no exception. There are a lot of senior officers who are going to the Howard Kennedy, those who are going to the MIT and the Oxford, and they're learning about the leadership and the decision making. I think that's the senior bracket that I want them to focus upon. They come back, let me tell you, in a month's time, they come back with a lot of new ideas, they made friends, and so I think that's important. But then the schools, the colleges, their teachers, they need to integrate at their own level, and I think I'm very glad that the teachers from our schools are going out to the Howard, and they're learning and they're bringing in. One more thing, it's important that you learn from there. You not only implement into your organization, but you teach others. So I think anybody who returns from these institutions is given a workshop program so that he starts to impart the same education, the same training to others in the Air Force.
So a candle burns itself and lights many others.
Right.
True. On a humanitarian basis, I noticed that you are perhaps the first Air Chief to visit the mother of our only recipient of the Nishan-e-Haider, Shahid Rashid Minhas. Very benevolent gesture on your part.
Honestly, nothing. Honestly, nothing. She's a great mother. But I want to leave a sentence. I went into a very small house, but a very big home. A very small house, a very big home. The way this family had the values of respect for the Air Force, respect for that mother. I saw each and every child in that house knit to that mother. I think I should have gone there earlier.
But better late than never. It was a great gesture. There's another aspect I noticed, that a number of funds have been instituted to help out institutions, and you have reached out to the veterans and then benevolent persons to adopt children to sponsor the education, because in this country education is a great handicap. Would you care to tell us about it?
Those low paid employees and others, and education has really become very expensive. We approached our old retired officers and other communities. The way the funds came in, it's unimaginable. The people were absolutely full support. So all those, not the Air Force children, but all those children who study, and there are a lot of civilian children who study with us, education from the basic primary level to the masters is actually free. Is actually free. To maintain the, yes, of course we give scholarships and other fundings to support, but the pivotal program is a Qarz-e Hasna program. I want self-esteem of those students, the boys and girls, to stay alive. They can get free education, but when they get the job, they're supposed to pay a very minimal amount every month so that they return this and know that they have paid back this amount, and I'm very sure they'll contribute a lot more to other such children. So I'm very proud to have this. But while we talk about this at the Air Force level, you're making some efforts at the national level, and I would like to make a mention. You might have visited a place called Rashidabad in Sindh, in absolute boondocks, 100-acre land, 2 public schools, blood transfusion center, 200-bedded hospital, vocational training center, deaf center, the blind center, the widow houses, the orphanage. Ekapur Shabir and his people do a magnificent job out there. This is a model which needs to be replicated everywhere in the country, I'm convinced. Air Force has given 100 acres land to this organization in Balochistan. We already have the initial designs ready. I've requested more land from KPK Chief Minister. He's agreed to this, and we're going to have a similar model replicated in KPK. Sindh we already done. Balochistan we're getting in. But then I need to do this in Gwadar as well. And Gwadar also I've written a letter. I'm sure we'll get a land there. The good thing is that the people come up and see these institutions succeeding, and they want to contribute in a huge manner. I envisage about 10 to 12 years down the line, we should have 5 Rashtrabads in the country, inshallah.
As a final point, let me ask you, you've mentioned a lot of projects and you started off and you're nearly halfway in your tenure. How are you going to make sure that these continue?
I think you asked a very pivotal question which bothered my mind. I think I was about 8-9 months down my tenure where I really started to think, and let me say this with a lot of humility once again, it all came about because there was a huge team with me which thought about these ideas. There are a few times that I made some corrections, but I think it was all about that team. But then it's not the air staff I'm talking about. I'm talking of my base commanders, I'm talking of my field commanders, the men, those who contributed into making this, and this used to worry me. How do we institutionalize all this? To my mind, institutions have to be strong and the individuals have to follow. Even the head of an institution is to follow what has been decided. It's about 2 months back that we sat down and I spoke to every individual of the Air Force. We talked about all these areas that today we have talked about and many more in detail. I invited their suggestions and the session went on for more than 3.5 hours. And of course, I was a video link to the entire Air Force. At the end, I said that this path that we have chosen for ourselves is the compass of the Air Force. This tells us our direction and nobody can change this compass. So our space program, our industry-academia relationship, our relationship with the poor, our building up more Rashtrabads, bringing education together, getting industry and academia into one line, nobody will change it. Nobody can change it now because this is documented. It's going to lie on the table of every commander. It's not going to be signed by me because I don't own it. It is the Air Force combined effort to make sure which direction we move in. The next Air Chiefs will honor it. I know we have always honored our predecessors and we will continue to do that. And that's the basic spirit. And that's the basic ethos that we carry as an Air Force or as an armed forces leader.
Before I close the program, I noticed that you have formulated a pledge, a very solemn pledge. I would like the nation to know more about it.
This is all about sacrifice. It's all about integrity. It's all about putting your own self ahead in danger. It's about sacrificing your lives. It's about working with absolute hardcore and assiduous working. If it is 24 hours, give 24 hours. This pledge is remembered by each and every individual of this.
It's memorized by them?
It is memorized by them. They need to carry it in their hearts all the time.
Because it was really superb to listen to the Air Chief. It was not only fascinating, it was heart-rending. Because what he has said spells out that the Pakistan Air Force is not only in safe hands, the nation's aerial frontiers are being defended by a fighting force whose skills have been honed to perfection. And they are not only defending our aerial frontiers, they are also trying to guard our intellectual frontiers. And that reminds me of the couplet of Allama Iqbal, which also a portion of it happens to be the motto of Pakistan Air Force. In Persian, it is Zadbang Man Shahinam Bakaram Zami Chist. The Shaheen should cry out loudly, what is the earth? Sahrast ke daryast tahebal o paremast. Whether it is the oceans or the deserts, they all lie beneath my wings. May Allah be with you, Air Chief Marshal.
It's a pleasure and honor, sir. Thank you.